Good morning. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Hey BL, hey Jen B, hey Ian, how you guys doing? Hope you're well. We'll give it 2 minutes before we get started. Hey Mad Maniac, good morning, good to see you. Daily market analysis today, followed with the Fibonacci retracement education session at 4:30 GMT plus 8. So make sure you stay tuned, stay around for that. Hey Suki, how you doing? Anyone traded the Aussie dollar this morning or today? I have a special guest with me here in the office, but not going to do the webinar together with us right now. Maybe not yet. We shall see. You going to do a webinar? No. Okay. So a special guest is not going to do the webinar today. If you are watching the session, drop a message, say hi, let me know you're here, let me know you're ready to get started. If you haven't already, click that rocket ship button, click that thumbs up button on YouTube. And once you've done that, we shall get started. Hey Spiros, how are you doing? If you are new to the session, welcome to the session. Do drop a message into the chat. Let us know you are here, and if you're new to the session, let me know where you're joining from. I love to find out. I did yesterday Aussie, but got out at break even. I hope you were. What trade was that, Jan? Buy or sell on Aussie? We were looking at it to go up. It went up a little bit, came back down, and then continued trading lower today. So righty, let's get started. Just because we have a session on later, so we'll get started immediately right now. Okay. So again, thank you all for attending. Welcome to the session, the daily market analysis, where I will be going through the fundamentals of what has happened, do a quick review of what happened, do a preview of what's coming up, and unfortunately, nothing much has happened. A little bit, and not much coming up until the next couple of days. Then we'll look at the technicals. We'll look at the technicals in terms of where price has been moving towards, looking for possible trade setups that will be, we could jump into. I'll be identifying not just where you could be looking to buy or sell. I'll be looking at prices, stop loss levels, and take profit levels as well. All right, so as usual, a quick disclaimer: any information contained on this webinar should not be construed as advice and is presented as educational material only. Your objectives, financial situation, and needs has not been considered, and you should consider its appropriateness to your circumstances. What it means is that as I look at many different trades, possible trade setups, as I analyze the different currency pairs, please remember that the contents of this webinar are not intended to be a recommendation to trade a financial product. So you must do your own due diligence before you do jump into any trades. Make sure it fits with your own trading strategy, your own risk profile. Ideally, don't jump into all the trades because that's going to mess with your trading psychology. Right? While we talk about trading psychology, Jen B did the idea or the little tip that I shared with you yesterday about sitting there waiting for the candle to close. Did that help you, or did it help anyone? Those watching, sitting there. One way to try and prevent yourself from rushing into a trade is really that constant reminder to wait. To just wait a little bit, wait for the candle to close, wait for price to finish moving before you do jump into a trade. Okay, so I hope that helps. And if you do come across any problems, any issues that you like to share with me, I will try to find a solution for you guys. I'll try to give you an idea or suggestion to try and help you get your trading strategy or your trading methodology tweak it a little bit so that it gets hopefully better. All right. Hey, Nick, how are you doing? Good day. Ayakame, good to see you here. Good morning. How are you? All right. So let's get going. Like I was telling you guys before, not a lot of news. We didn't have a lot of things happen in terms of the news front, in terms of the economics and the fundamentals side of things. So yesterday, Tuesday, we did see consumer confidence for the US. We were anticipating a small drop, right? We were anticipating this was 102.9 previously, so it got revised up to 103.4. We were expecting a small drop to 101 or possibly, that 100 level, but it did come out a bit higher at 104. Because of this, what we actually saw on the dollar, zoom in here, right? What we actually saw on the dollar was a push. Hang on, why is this so small? Let me just see. Am I messing something up? Okay. We did see a push slightly to the upside before I traded slightly lower again, right? So it didn't drop down to that 102 level. In fact, the dollar has risen slightly through the session today to retest, right now retesting that bearish trend line to the downside. So it's testing that level. Quite an important point here, because if it does test and break out, of this trend line, we could see price trade higher. We could see price push higher, possibly even to that 103 level. Alternatively, or more preferably, I'm looking for this to test this level and then turn back down. So how I'm looking at is a test of this level before turning back down again. All right, so it's at that level there. So a quick update of the summary sheet. 9th of March, the dollar index is testing the trend line, the bearish trend line. We're looking to reject and trade down to 102. All right. I don't think it's going to rush to the downside just because there's not a lot of news happening. And that's so bias for now. If it does break up, then we could see possibly some short-term move to the upside before still looking for it to trade back down. 103 is a nice round resistance number there. Okay, so that's the view on the dollar, just because of that consumer confidence number, and also given that we're not seeing a lot of other news to be released today for the US in particular. What we did have at 8:30 a.m. this morning, GMT plus 8, and I'll tell you the silliest thing I did. I got up and I was ready to trade. Hey Pedro, how are you doing? Good to see you. Early morning for Pedro. Maximum effort. 100% for that. Hey Angel Case, good to see you. Right, so at 8:30 a.m. this morning, we had the Aussie CPI data release. I was up and ready to trade at 8 a.m. and I just realized, oh wait, news is not going to be out until 8:30. 7.4 previously, expected 7.2, came out at a 6.8. Somewhat, I don't remember what I was telling you guys yesterday. I think I was looking at a 6.9. I think I mentioned a 6.9 or 6.8, but it came out somewhat as we expected, just because of what happened on the 1st of March. There was a big drop, relatively big drop, this time again from 7.4 to a 6.8. Okay, what we saw here was the immediate effect on the Aussie dollar, where price, so this was offset already, okay, take that away. At 8:30, price actually traded up slightly to that 0.6713 level. Why is hang on one second, let me just try to figure this out. Okay, that looks better. Okay, traded up to that 0.6713 level. News released at 8:30, we saw it drop, right? It dropped all the way down to that 6687 level. Small drop, not a huge one, but it dropped and then consolidated at 0.67. What I'll tell you is that on the M15 time frame, this drop, right? I didn't actually get into this, so I wasn't, because of the move to the upside of how price. Hey M leader, how are you doing? Because of how price moved slightly higher before the news, I wasn't prepared to jump into the trade before the news, so I didn't catch this move down. Right? I didn't catch this move down. Consolidated around 6-7, but very recently, just actually a couple of hours before this session, as it traded down, as it broke below that 0.67 level, I was actually selling the Aussie to the downside. I was actually selling Aussie down. I had this one trade. So as it broke there, that big push there, I entered on the M15. I had a 30 pip stop loss, thereabouts, about there. And I had a 30 pip, where is it? 30 pip take profit. There we go. Okay. And then within the next two moves, it came down, it found my interim support level, or came very close to the interim support level, and actually at that point there. So within that two candles, the third one, I closed out. Right, I closed out, went neutral. Right now, I'm looking for it to break below 6670. Right, if it does break below 6670, and this is on M15, so going back to the H1, if it breaks below 6670, I could be looking for further downside on the Aussie. I would say about a 20 pip stop loss and about a 30 pip take profit. Right, a 15 to 20 pip stop loss, about a 30 pip take profit, looking for it to come down towards that 6635 support level. Okay, good morning, Bill. How are you doing? So that's the view on the Aussie. And you can see that anticipating Aussie to drop to the downside, that's possibly going to mean that we're going to see some upside move on the dollar. Okay, so just an update of this, testing the bearish trend line, looking for it to reject. If it breaks, we could see 103. Okay, so the Aussie, I'm actually looking now to sell below 0.6670 with a stop loss about 20 pips and a TP at about 30 pips. Was it 30? About 30 pips. All right, so that's the view for the Aussie dollar. Spiros on the Kiwi CAD. I will get to that shortly then. Okay, so that's Aussie done. Relatively straightforward, just following on with that recent downward push. Does need to break below 6670 first. Okay, so not a rush in trade right now. Possibly towards the end of the hour, look for this to push down. The Kiwi dollar, again, don't know if you jumped into this trade. It did come up a little bit. It came up to about 20 pips. So it didn't go all the way to that 40. It came up to about 20 pips before trading down again. Following on with that similar move that we saw, just take this away, we saw on, or are seeing on the Aussie dollar. So similar move. Why don't you move your stop loss to break even and let the trade run? Is there specifics that you use to determine when to close a trade like this to run for another? Okay, so back to the Aussie. Why I didn't move my stop loss down to break even. Typically, I mean, it's just something that from my personal experience, is that every time I move my stop loss down to break even, what happens, because market trades in that choppy fashion, it bounces back up, it hits my stop loss. I'm out at break even, right? So the way I look at it is, if I come to the point where I feel like I want to secure the trade at break even, then it shows that I'm considering the possibility that it could bounce. So that's where I would close out the trade. I would secure the profit first, then reevaluate onto what could happen after that. So I take it to the view where I'll rather secure my profits, some profit better than a break even, and then look to enter again as it breaks another level. All right, good question there, Pedro. Hope that answers your question. So Kiwi dollar, same thing, looking for it to drop to the downside. We do have a big support at 6150. I would say an interim level would be at about 6180. Fantastic. Okay, but 6180, I would say, is an interim level. What you could be looking for here is also that downward move, right? It is retracing a little bit right now, so I would say that just because we've always been saying that Kiwi dollar is right in the middle of the two levels, I would like this to bounce a little bit. I would be looking to sell down from about 6225, 25 pip stop loss, almost a 40 pip take profit to the downside here on the Kiwi dollar H1 time frame. Okay, so about 6225, 25 pip to 40 pips. Okay, so we're looking to sell down below 0.6225, stop loss about 25, TP about 40. You could even set it at 50 and then make that decision at about 40 pips. Right? What I mean by you could set it at 50, you could set it all the way down here to about 70 pips and then make that decision at that 6180 level. You could also be making a small decision at about that 62 round number level as well. Okay, so look to sell down, make a decision at about 62, and then I think 62 will be a reasonable level. And then if it does break 62, we're going to see further downside potential. Alrighty. Easy on the, look at that. Look at how the dollar index is actually looking like it's rejecting that trend line. So I'm looking for that push to the downside. All right. US yen, I was just writing about this. I think I published a post on that as well. We were looking for this. Let me see. Let me try to recreate that. 61 was there. Take all these away. You can see, right? Price was just broke out of that 61 level. Put that dotted line right across. And it was 131.70. I was looking for this to push up. I have been busy this morning scalping, trading the yen to the upside. Right, I'm looking for yen to get towards that 133 level. Let me just close off something here. Okay, so I'm looking for yen to get to that 133 level. I was looking at this at 8 a.m. I just I saw this bounce off that 130.60 level. I didn't want to get into the trade at that point at 8 a.m. I was watching the charts just because if I looked at that, it was the news coming out for the Aussie, so I wanted to reserve my leverage or my trade margin for the Aussie dollar. So I didn't get into this trade, and I was looking at this as a 60 pip stop loss and then a 60 pip take profit. At that point, I haven't done the thought or the analysis thinking that I was going to get to that point. So I didn't get into that trade. But as it was pushing up, I was looking at it on the smaller time frame, and then I was scalping it up to that 61.8 level, and then as it broke above, I did one more small trade up. But right now, that's it for me on the yen. I'm looking for it to possibly retest. Oh, there we go. There's the analysis there. Retest or continue towards that 133 round number resistance level. Okay, so in terms of a possible trade setup, looking for a retest of 1.3170. You can actually take it at about 1.132, right? So above 132, we have about 80 pip take profit. We have about a 40 pip stop loss. 1:2 to the upside on the US yen. All right, so US yen buy above 132 to 133, stop loss about 40, TP about 80 pips. There we go. All right. No questions from anyone. Okay, good stuff. Alrighty. With that said about the US yen, then we look at the pound dollar. Right, pound dollar trade didn't trigger. Right, we were talking about this at 3. We were saying that if it breaks down, we're looking to sell it down. It didn't trigger, so I'll take that away. It pushed up and then it's trading back down. Do I use buy stop and sell stop trades? I don't, Suki. I don't do a buy or sell stop trade for several reasons. One is that if I'm looking at the charts all the time, so I'm sitting there watching the charts all the time. So if I do jump into a trade, it'll be an instant execution. And 2, if I do, from what I've tried over a handful of times, is that when I do set a buy or sell stop order, it's usually because of a news event pending. So I want to try and jump in at the news event as the news gets released. But what I always realize is that I suffer a huge slippage, right? Ranges anywhere from 10 to 20. I think the last one I did was about almost 15 to 20 pips of slippage. So not a big fan of slippage, and not a big fan of the orders. Okay, so could be just me, but just be extra careful about that. So on the pound dollar, trading just between that 1.23 round number resistance now turned support level, and that 1.23 almost 1.2350 price level. I think it's going to range in this point. It's going to range here with no clear direction, depending on what the dollar index does. All right, if we see the dollar index continuing to push to the downside, then we could see this push up. It's a bit too near to, or rather in between, to that 1.24 level, right? And you can see that 1.24 was in Feb this year. When it got to that point, it shot up, it tested level, and it came straight back down. So I'm just going to be extra cautious here. I would say that look for it to consolidate. What could or most likely would happen is that it's going to do that. Right? It's going to consolidate and then break out. If it's not because of the big news, break out and then come straight back down again. Well, not in a straight line, but in that fashion. All right, so I would say it looks like it could set up for a good opportunity, but it's possibly a good hindsight kind of opportunity. So I would stay away of the pound dollar for the time being, especially to the upside. If you're looking to sell it down, then I would it's up to you, but I would say that big upward trend, and even from there to the upside, that's supporting that upward move. So I'd say selling down would be a massive counter trend, not something I'll be super keen on either. Hey, GMFX Trading, how you doing? So US pound dollar, probably no trade. Look for price to test 1.24. All right, there we go. Okay. And then next up is the euro dollar. All right, it's been weird, right? It's been weird that the euro dollar has been trading with relatively, I'll take that away because it's messing up the charts, has been trading with relatively low volatility, right? It's been steadily climbing to the upside yesterday, but then it hasn't done too much. And even that climb to the upside, you can see that, it's a big spike up, a retrace, and then spike up, a big retrace. So it's been trading higher, but not a great trading opportunity. Right? Question is, why is euro so strong? Euro is so strong because there is, one is that the uncertainty, the craziness is happening in the US banking crisis. Um, Euro news seems to be taking a bit of a back seat at the moment. I wouldn't say that it's so strong. I'd rather say that it's probably waiting or priming for something to happen. Okay, so I would say that euro, again, I wouldn't be looking to sell it down, right? Looking at the way it's been climbing. So, with the way it's moving now, you could be looking for it to break above 1.0850, right? Break above 1.0850. What are these lines here? Okay. And then you could be looking for that push. Possibly something that you want to look at the euro is for the longer term kind of trade, not a short term, not M15, not possibly not an H1 kind of trade, something that you want to do for a couple of days, right? Just because of how choppy it is. So I would be looking at a possible upside above 1.0850. So let's say 1.0860. Take profit 70 pips to the upside. Stop loss, I'll keep it a bit wider at about 40 pips just because of how choppy it's been moving. Okay, so that's the view on the euro dollar. Upside move if it breaks above 1.0850 towards 1.0930, that's 70 pips. Stop loss about 40 pips. Okay, so euro looking for upside, buy above 1.0850, stop loss about 40 pips, TP about 70 pips. I see a question there, Bill. On M15, would you say this is a pin bar? Let me see, M15. There is a pin bar there. That's why we're seeing this push to the upside. I agree, there's a pin bar. The thing about a pin bar is that you want it to react to a support level to make it stronger. I would say that not exactly a support level, but this was a previous low, a swing point here. So it's tested that swing point and bounced back up. So could see this upward push, possibly not going to be a big push in the short term, but if this pushes up, then we can look for that as we're talking about 1.0850. Right, so yes, I do see a pin bar there resulting in this push. Let's see whether it's going to be sustained to the upside. It looks like it's happening. Okay, now what's next? I've done my euro. Yes. Okay. Let me just put that on the next line. Okay, that's my euro done. Okay, let's do a quick review of euro pound that we were talking about. Okay, so we were looking for the euro pound to push up. It didn't trigger, right? The candle didn't close above. Euro dollar bouncing off upwards trend line so far. H1, yes. Um, Euro dollar bouncing off that trend line to the upside on H1. Oh, this is in 15. Still works as well on the H1 time frame, or we can even be looking at that trend line bouncing up. Yes, bullish trend line supporting this to the upside. So looking for this to push up. Robbie, hey Robbie, how are you doing? If our bias is US dollar weakening, just curious on the reason to scalp the US yen to the upside. Earlier today was looking to scalp it too. I read somewhere, I think it was on Forex Factory, that where was it? There we go. US yen bears run into support, eyes on 133. So that's one of the reasons why I was looking at 133, in addition to the swing high level that we saw there, and also supported by that point there. So I was looking at yen dollar weakness, but the way price move, and the way it's pushing up, I was happy to do a quick scalp. Had to do something. I was sitting there watching price move, so I was scalping it to the upside. Okay, hope I answered your question there, Robbie. Then, quick revision on the review of the euro pound. Didn't close above, so we didn't get to that upward move. And also, why it retraced back down is because the pound dollar continued pushing higher, right? Pound dollar continued pushing higher, together with the euro dollar, pushing higher, but in a choppy fashion. And that's why we saw on the euro pound, it tried several times to push up, but hasn't done it so far. Okay, so at this point, if you wanted to get into a trade on the euro pound, apart from strongly advising against it, if you look to buy at this point, then your stop loss would be about 20 something pips to the downside. Take profit could be way up there. Will be a very early entry because we do have that interim resistance level at 0.88. So I think it's not, it could work out quite nicely, could have a big explosive move, but possibly not worth that risk. So let's take that away. Okay, so we take the euro pound out. Okay, we look at the US CAD, then I'll answer Spiros's question on the Kiwi CAD. US CAD, I haven't done gold yet. We're in office here talking about gold and haven't done gold. So gold, looking at the price change, is going to be quite interesting. Look at that on the US CAD, right? So was telling you guys about this. 3 o'clock when we were looking at this, we said come up, test that trend line before shooting back down. It's working out almost exactly. I should learn how to draw more accurately, but it's moving exactly as we expected. Went up, test that trend line before trading back down. Okay, so super happy about that. Unfortunately, I didn't get into that trade yesterday. I wasn't trading last night. And then after that, right now at that 1.3610 level. Okay, you can see support level at 1.355. Now I'm looking for possibly no trade. I'm possibly not super keen on the US CAD. Why I say that is because looking at the dollar index, it's possibly tested, rejected, going to push to the downside, to be developed, price action to be developed. And if the dollar index does push down, then we're going to see the US CAD push lower, right? And the headlines are still the same, where dollar, okay, there's no news on the oil, and oil is still pushing to the upside. So like we spoke about yesterday, oil WTI still pushing higher. As oil prices push higher, that's going to drag the US CAD down, together with the dollar index possibly trading lower again. That's going to drag it down. I'm not super keen on the anticipation that the US CAD could bounce and then do a similar move that what we saw, right? But that's possibly going to happen again. Okay, so what you could be looking for is selling. Selling if it rejects 1.3630. Stop loss about 30 pips. Take profit about 60 pips to that 1.3555 support level. Alrighty, so US CAD, we're looking for this to retest 1.36 something, 1.3630, test and reject 1.3630, sell down, stop loss, I'm terrible with these numbers, stop loss about 30, TP about 60, okay. Stop loss 30, TP 60. I'm done. Okay, so that's the view. So now you look at it, we're looking to sell down on the Kiwi dollar, we're looking to sell down on the US CAD. So what that means on the Kiwi CAD is for possibly, right, you can see all what we've been talking about, take that away. As it tests and it breaks, I don't know why I have all these lines there, so just let me check something. All right, so it breaks that level. Okay, so if we're looking for the Canadian dollar to trade lower, that strength on the Canadian dollar possibly, and then that weakness on the Kiwi CAD, that's going to give us a bit of a conflicting view here on the Kiwi CAD, right? Kiwi dollar looking to trade down, possible weakness on the Kiwi dollar, CAD trading down, strength. We should be seeing it push up. So with that momentum now looking like the downside, what you could be looking for is a test of the support before buying back up. Similar to what we saw yesterday. Test of support before pushing back up. And you can see this support level has held quite strongly since the 16th of March, 21st of March, 28th, and then now we're going to see whether it's going to do that towards the end of March again. Okay, so in terms of Kiwi CAD for Spiros, I would say look for it to test 0.8455, and then if it bounces off that point, we could be looking for that upward move similar to what we saw on the last 3 occasions. Okay. Any questions? Anyone else have a question so far? All good? If it's good, if you're finding it useful, interesting, put it into the chat. Let me know if you have any feedback. If you have multiple 1 to 2 trade ideas based on the dollar index moving in whatever direction, which trade do you tend to take? Do you take simply the first one that hits entry? Okay, good question, JNB, is a couple of things to think about. If you have similar risk to reward kind of trade setups, let's make it even more complicated. Let's say that they might hit the entry at the same time as well. Things you want to think about is also the market session, right? The market session. So, for example, if I was looking at the Aussie dollar, okay, if I was looking at the Aussie dollar, thinking that's going to trade down, and then I was looking at the euro dollar, thinking it's going to push up, for example, or trade down as well, then I would be more tempted towards the euro dollar just because market for the Aussie would have been closed. I'm not saying that's not going to move, but the volatility or the liquidity might be a bit lower on the Aussie compared to the euro. So think about, not just risk reward and which one hits first, but also the market session, which is going to have more volatility, more liquidity, or even if we looked at US CAD, right, anticipating US CAD to trade to the downside, and then looking at the euro dollar pushing up, then I would still go for the euro dollar just because euro dollar has more of that volatility and liquidity, and the US CAD has other factors influencing it, such as oil price and possibly supply constraints as well. Okay, so I would love to have kept it simple for you, just to say, whichever hits the first. But there are a few more things to consider in terms of trade selection. Alrighty, good. Now that we've done CAD, let's go to gold. My new favorite pair. Well, used to be my new favorite pair up until it started being stuck in this range between about 1936 and 2000, right? Not fun. Take that away for now because it went up a little bit and then tracked back down. So it's not fun on gold at this point in time. We were just talking about this in the office. You guys know that I do my prop trading challenge account solely on gold, and I haven't actually been trading onto gold at all this week. Well, it's only Wednesday now, but this couple of days, even last week as well, just because it's stuck within this range, right? I'm only looking for big moves or reaction at that 2000 level and also at that 1936 level. I did one trade, I think, down because we saw that double top formation. But apart from that, I haven't been doing too much. So gold at this point, stuck within the range. It is at that 1965 level, right? At that 1965 level, could go anywhere at that mid-range, right? You can see that at this point, can spike up strongly, can break down strongly. It's right in the middle. I would say do what I do, stay away, chill out on gold for the time being. No trade. So, okay. And look at that. Look at the dollar, tested and rejected. Live analysis, live reaction right in front of you guys. Good morning, Jamil. How are you doing? David, I will get to the pound Swiss franc. Pound Swiss franc, what a pair. Do I use partial profits on my trades, Pedro? No, I don't do partial profits for the same reason why I don't move my stop loss. If I feel like I need to take some profits off, then I get to the point where I'm a bit uncertain, or I feel like it's a trade that I'm not going to be super confident with anymore. I'll rather close out for the full profits. I would miss a move, right? I might miss potential profits, or I might miss a potential trade setup or longer move, but it's come to the point where it's okay to miss a move rather than to try and stay in a move but have it fluctuate and spike me out of a trade. Okay, hope I answered your question there, Pedro. Mad Maniac, I'm 60 pips in profit on the US yen. Fantastic. Still 20 pips to go for TP. Everything in me wants to close it now. Trade psychology. You are 60 pips in, you are 20 pips to TP. I would, not a trade advice. I would close it out. Just, like I've been telling you all for today is that, I see that 132 as a round number level. If I would close it out before that or at this point, just because I don't know if it's going to break 132. I would like to see 133 but it needs to break 132 first. So it could retrace back down before pushing back up, or it could just break straight through. That unknown would make me close off the trade. I'll be happy with 60 rather than 80. At least it's 60 in the pocket rather than a potential stop loss as well. All right. Okay, good. US Swiss franc, test, resistance, reject, possibly to the downside. Looking at what the dollar index is doing. If it trades down, then US Swiss franc could trade down. Could be looking for a short 0.9185, 0.9185, about a 40 pip stop loss, about a 40 pip take profit. You guys know I don't really like trading a US Swiss franc, so that's possibly a setup on the US Swiss franc as it ranges in a horizontal fashion, right? From the top of the range to the bottom, or close to the bottom of the range. So we're looking to sell down from 0.9185, stop loss about 40 TP. Can't type today. 40 TP about 40. So 1:1 to the downside, driven by the volatility of the dollar index. Okay, then we'll look at the pound. What was it? Pound Swiss franc. Okay, here we go. I had lines before. Let me just clear that out. Pound Swiss franc. Well, Swiss franc is trading to the downside. The US Swiss franc is trading to the downside. Pound Swiss franc should be trading to the downside, driven by the Swissy, and then the pound dollar possibly trading a bit. Let me just add this in. The pound dollar is pushing a little bit higher, so still within that range. I would say that for the pound Swiss franc, I do have my resistance here. Where's my line? I do have my resistance here. How am I doing? I do have a big support here. And then you have an interim level at about this point. And also, I was going to say they have a trend line there, but it doesn't really fit. So, you could be looking for this. Let's do some fib levels. Yeah, you could be looking for it to come back down to that 61 level. Okay, so if it does, look for that candle to close, and then we can look to sell down from about 1.1330, stop loss about 30, take profit about 60, or 1:2 to the downside there on the pound Swiss franc. Okay, we change this over to the pound CHF. Looking to sell from 1.1330. Stop loss was about 30 and TP was 60. Stop loss was about 30, TP about 60. There we go. Alrighty. Good. Okay, again, quick intermission is that if you haven't already, do click that thumbs up and that rocket ship button. The guys on YouTube are winning, so come on, TradingView people. If you're going to trade the US yen and go long, would you use a trailing stop loss? And if you did, how many pips would you use it to trail? I wouldn't. I wouldn't use a trailing stop loss. I would set for the US yen. Look, I'll do that. I'll buy it up, and then look for that to climb. It might come to 1.32, 132.50, hesitate a little bit. I might close out there, but this is a trade I would, if it does trigger, if it does get in, I would anticipate that this would be a quick trade to the upside. It'd be the yen, once it finds a direction, it moves in a relatively straight line. So I would say that I wouldn't do a trailing stop. 20 pips on pound yen while watching your morning session. Fantastic. Good, happy start of the day. So what commission do I get off that 20 pips? M leader? I only ask M leader for commission just because we used to talk a lot about that. Okay, so US 30 at a resistance from way back. I'll even put a resistance there. Could hit that resistance of 32,600 and then turn back down. Most likely that scenario. This happened Wednesday, Thursday last week. It broke down. Something needs to happen. It needs to happen at that 32,600 level. Most likely going to turn back down, I would say. So neo-middle pains, and I would say that is going to react to that 32,600 and possibly turn back down on the US 30. Start the group. I'll sign up. I will start a group. I'm thinking about starting a group. It's just so much work, so I'll think about a group. I'll think about where to put a group as well. All right, maybe Discord, maybe Telegram, maybe somewhere. US yen just went to 132 and back to 131.90. Do you wait to close above? Yes, wait. 8 minutes more, wait for it to close above 132 before you want to get into a trade. All right, so that's the view for the daily analysis today. Again, guys, I'm going to take a short break. There is another stream coming up. Where was it? This is happening now. This is coming up in 37 minutes time. So leave your comments and feedbacks in the chat here. And if you haven't already, do help me out. Click that like button, that subscribe button. And then we'll be back at 4:30 GMT plus 8 on Fibonacci's. Have your questions ready. So with that said, take care, trade well. I'll see you in 30 minutes. Thank you, Pedro. Time to get back to sleep. Take care now. Bye-bye.